the degree for me has been thinking critically about things that I take for granted. And that's why I think I've stayed. And I've chosen culture and conflict because in our first year we did a module on cultural studies, which I didn't think I would like. And it turns out cultural studies is one of the most interesting and important things I've ever studied. So the idea that I could combine cultural studies and conflict studies together in a course called Culture and Conflict was brilliant and pretty perfect for me, actually.
Culture and Conflict is a course that thinks about war and conflict, but through the perspective of cultural studies. So it looks at issues of war and conflict, not so much in terms of their history or the philosophical issues that they might raise, although those questions are never entirely absent, but instead it looks at them through, if you like, a kind of cultural lens. So what that means is that we think about the ways that novels, documentaries, films, first-person testimonials, but also practices like commemoration, memorials, practices like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We think about the ways that all of those cultural texts and cultural practices actually mediate conflict.
When we were being introduced to all the different options and what was best for who wanted to do what and stuff, the thing that really seized me about culture and conflict was that a lot of it was based around what it meant to resolve conflict and what happens after a conflict. So once the guns stop firing, what makes guns stop firing and what happens to people after a war, and what can we as cultural theorists, as people, do to help people deal with conflict, make peace with the past. And that's certainly what we're studying at the moment at the beginning of year 3. And I think that was the main reason I chose the course, was because I'm really interested in conflict resolution.
Conflict is very often addressed through a perspective which is political or historical or philosophical. Those perspectives are all absolutely crucial, but a perhaps neglected part of it is a cultural one. Cultural analysis asks questions about how people live and how people experience conflict. It asks questions, for example, like, what is it like to live in this conflict? What is it like to live through the Northern Irish Troubles? What is it like to live through South African apartheid? And what is it like to live in the wake of South African apartheid as South Africa tries to constitute a new democratic form of society? So cultural analysis can address and can explore those questions in ways that arguably other disciplines, at least alone, cannot do.